We are at question 4 of the May 2023 CSEC mathematics paper. Now, we consider the following functions. F of x equals 3 over x plus 2, g of x is 4x minus 5, and h of x is x squared plus 1. Now, I'm just going to copy the function itself, the functions themselves, and let's paste them on our whiteboard here. Question: for what value of x is f of x undefined? How much they give? 1 mark for that. For what value of x is f of x undefined? Now here, remember, when you talk about being undefined, you really cannot find a valid answer. Alright? And in this case, what happens is that you're trying to divide by 0, which doesn't make sense. Alright? So, whenever you have a situation where you're trying to divide by 0, then that function is undefined. Now, why is it that you can't divide by 0? Alright? First of all, if I ask you, or if anybody asks you, what is 5 divided by 0? Don't tell them 5 and don't tell them 0 and don't tell them whatever else. It is undefined. Now, why is that? Alright, suppose, let's just look at this quickly. Suppose you're at A and you want to go to B. And A to B is 5 kilometers apart. Alright? Now, you're at A at 10 a.m. And at some point later, it could be that at 11 a.m. you find yourself at B. Now, your speed, the speed that you travel, will be the distance 5 kilometers divided by the time 1 hour. So you move at 5 kilometers per hour. Alright? Good, no problem. Now, suppose at 10 a.m. you're at A, and then at 11 a.m. you're still at A. What would be your speed? Your speed will be the distance. Well, you're still at A, so it's 0 kilometer over time 1 hour. So your speed was 0 kilometers per hour, meaning you have not started walking yet or traveling yet. Alright? Because you're still at A. Alright. Let's look at another situation. You are at A, 10 a.m. and you end up at B at 10 a.m. Same day. Right? Same time, same date. What happened? Your speed is the distance 5 kilometers per. How long did you take to travel from A to B? Well, if you're at A at 10 a.m. on a particular date and you end up at B at the same 10 a.m. on that particular date, then your time was 0 hours. Now, how do you deal with that? Can that happen in real life? Can you move from one place to another in 0 time? No, it's impossible, it can't. So that's undefined. You're not allowed to divide by 0. You can't divide by 0 if you try it with a calculator, phone, laptop, whatever it is. You get an error message. It's undefined. Alright? Alright, so hope that will remind you that you can divide by 0. Now, for this thing to be undefined, it means f of x equals 3 over x plus 2. You're going to make x plus 2 be equal to 0. So you have 3 over 0. That would be undefined. So what would x have to be? The value of x for which f of x is undefined. Well, in this case, if x plus 2 is 0, then x would be negative 2. So x would be negative 2 there. See that? Alright. See what else is going on. Find the value of g of a quarter. Alright. So, and by the way, it's 1 mark for that. G of a quarter. What is g of a quarter? Let's paste this here. I'm not going to erase this just yet. I don't know if I'm going to have to use it later on. G of x is 4x minus 5. So g of x equals 4x minus 5. 4x means 4 times x. But g of a quarter means what? Well, it's no longer x is a quarter. So I remove the x and put a quarter wherever I see x. I'm going to erase it and replace it with a quarter. So 4 times a quarter is 1. 1 minus 5 is equal to negative 4. So in this case, it's negative 4. Alright? Alright. Let's see what else is going on here. H of negative 3. How many marks is that? Another 1 mark. Remember, these marks add up. Alright? So we want to find h of negative 3. Paste it. Let's pull the h of negative 3 down here. Now, h of x is x squared plus 1. So h of x is x squared plus 1. But this is h of negative 3, not x anymore. So this h of negative 3 is equal to, so I replace x with negative 3, so this is negative 3 squared plus 1. Negative 3 squared is what? Is 9. 9 plus 1 equals 10. So that's 10 for that, alright? Okay, so, it's part C. f of 0. By the way, how many marks? 2 marks for that. I mean that you have to do a little bit more work than in the previous parts of the question. Those were 1 mark each, but this one is 2 marks. So f of 0. So f of x is 3 over x plus 2. So f of x is 3 over x plus 2. Alright. Now, the thing is, this is a composite function. F of 0 means f of, no, this is f of 0. You're going to find f of 0, and then whatever you get, you find f of that. Alright? This is going to be f of, let me use square brackets for this part, f of, no, it's going to be f of 0. What is f of 0? Well, it's when you change x to 0. F of x becomes f of 0. So this is f of 3 over 0 plus 2. See that? This part, is the f of 0. Alright? So, let's write it down here. This is f of, alright, what will f of 0 be? 3 divided by 2. So the f of 0 part is 3 divided by 2. Now I could do it separately and say f of 0 is 3 over 0 plus 2, which is 3 over 2. See that? Now, f of 0 means f of 3 over 2. F of 3 over 2. You see that? Now what is f of 3 over 2? F of 3, or you could call it f of 3 halves, is, now f of x is 3 over x plus 2. So f of 3 over 2 is 3 over 2 plus 2. See that? Now we have to do some fractions. At least you might want to do it with a calculator, but let's work it out here. 3 over 2 plus 2 means 2 over 1. 2 over 1. But one common denominator, so let's multiply this 1 by 2. 1 by 2 gives you 2, and you must multiply the top by 2 as well. 2 by 2 gives you 4. So it's 3 over what? 3 halves plus 4 halves. Well, 3 of anything plus 4 of that is 7. It's 7 halves. But then, remember, you have a number over a fraction. It's the same as the number times the reciprocal of the fraction. Right? So 3 divided by 7 over 2 is the same as 3 times, or 3 multiplied by 2 over 7. 3, 2, 6. So it's 6 over 7. Alright? Remember, even though it looks like this, it's not 3 by 2 over 3 by 7. No. Because you have the 3 over 1. So it's 3 by 2 is 6 over 1 by 7 is 7. Alright? Alright, so that's what we have there for 2 marks again. Okay. Let's see what else is going on. Okay, we have part B. Let's say write an expression in its simplest form for gh of x. That's what, 2 marks. Gh of x, simplest form. Let me just copy the gh of x part and paste it over here. So we want gh of x. Let's just work it out to the side here, instead of scrolling all the way down there. So gh of x. Now, what this means is that we're going to find g of something. G of what? G of h of x. Okay? So, first, so you're going to find gh of x first. find h of x first. Then find g of that, whatever it is. Alright? So you're going to find g of h of x. Now h of x is x squared plus 1. Okay. Now g of x is 4x minus 5. Now, when you say g of something, you're going to change the x to that something. So whatever that something is, you're going to remove x and put that something there. Now it is g of h of x. So you see all of this here, you're going to remove x and put it right there. Alright? So it's g of, well, h of x would be 4 times h of x, whatever it is, minus 5. Okay? Which would be 4 times x squared plus 1 minus 5. Okay? Make sure you follow it up. So this would be 4x squared plus 414 minus 5, which is 4x squared. 4 minus 5 is 1. So it's 4x squared minus 1 that you get. See that? Alright. So that's that. Now, 2 marks for this part now. You must find g inverse of negative 2. Just copy. Now, g inverse of negative 2. Where is it now? Alright. Let's put this somewhere out here. It doesn't seem like we're going to need the work that we did before, so let's erase some of these things here. Alright, g inverse of negative 2. So g of x is 4x minus 5. Let me write that properly. G of x equals 4x minus 5. Alright, now remember the inverse function, right? Will reverse whatever the original function did. Now, there are certain steps that you take in finding the inverse of a function. So let's look at step 1. What you do? Change g of x to y. Step 2. Now that will make it easier for you to do the transposition part later. Alright? Now step 2. Switch between x and y. Or let me put it another way. You interchange them. Change x to y and y to x. Now you don't necessarily have to do that, but it would make it a bit easier for the transposition part, which will come later. Alright? Step 3, you're going to make y the subject. After you make y the subject, you go to the final step, step 4. You change y to g inverse of x. That's one thing you can do. You could do this to find g inverse of x and then substitute 2 for it. Alright? Now, if you do that, if you do it using that method, you would say y is equal to 4x minus 5. Let me write it down here beside the steps. Y is equal to 4x minus 5. Then what you do here, change x to y, y to x, so x is equal to 4y minus 5. After that, you make y the subject. If you do the transposition, you're going to get x plus 5 over y. Then change y to g inverse, so g inverse of x is equal to x plus 5 over y. X, this should have been x over x. No, y is equal over 4. What am I doing? My. This would be x plus 5 over 4. Where did I get these things from? Alright, it would be, and then you make x negative 2. So if you put g inverse of negative 2, that would be negative 2 plus 5 over 4. What is negative 2 plus 5 over 4 is 3. 3 over 4. That's one thing you could do. Alright? Now, another thing, it's not as easy to remember, but it's shorter. Another thing you could do is consider this. You see, when you put a number into a function, you get an answer. If you should put the answer into the inverse, you get back a number. So g of x is 4x minus 5. G of x equals 4x minus 5. You have g inverse of x is whatever it is. Let's imagine you don't know what that, you didn't do this yet and you don't know what it is. If you're going to find g inverse of negative 2, right? Is g inverse of negative 2. Now, what you do, put negative 2 here. And what happens? You get answer. Now, the inverse and the function, they undo what each other did. So that answer, if you put that answer, if you have the function, put a number in it, you get an answer. If you put the answer into the inverse, you get back a number. Right? See that? If you put a number, here, you get answer. If you put that answer into the inverse, you get back that same number. What is that number? Let us find out. I know this kind of look mixed up and confusing. Let me just get this. Oh no. Let me put this here. Alright. Now back to what I said. You put a number here for x. You get an answer. If you put that answer into the inverse, you're going to get back that same number. Now what is that number? Let's see. What you're going to have to do here is to say 4x minus 5 is equal to the answer. The answer that you had put in the inverse is negative 2. So 4x minus 5 equals negative 2. Now what is that number? Well, just work it out here. If you add 5 to both sides, you get 4x is equal to 2 plus 5 equals 7. And then when you divide both sides by x, x equals 7. It's negative 2. 4x minus 5 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3, right? So if you divide both sides by 4, you get 3 over 4. Which is the same thing that you got before, right? So it's somewhat like a shortcut. Instead of going through the process of finding G inverse of x and then replacing x with 2, you say G of the number you're going to put in the inverse. So make G of x equal that number, alright? And then you work it out. So, yeah, that is it for question. Which question is it again? Question 4. We'll look at question 5 next time.